In a city, state, and region where basketball is in their DNA, it was a season nothing short of madness.
3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! Siva down the lane in overtime. Peggy Siva.
A season bookended with brilliance.
And the Kentucky coronation is complete. Champions 2012.
Can I get an encore?
Now 3 rivals take flight, joined together unlike ever before atop the rankings. It's 3 for the road to Atlanta, where the Final Four awaits.
422 miles from the Georgia Dome is where the road begins. Welcome to 3 for the Road at the KFC Yum Center here in downtown Louisville, essentially the center of the college basketball universe right now. I'm Tom Lane, joined by the entire WDRB sports team, Pat Doney, Eric Crawford, Rick Bozich, and Steve Andrews.
We're going to break down the defending national champion Kentucky Wildcats.
And of course, we haven't forgotten about the #1 team in all the land, the Indiana Hoosiers.
And not just discussion, we're going to debate the questions entering the season.
We've got the first WDRB.com All-Kentuckiana team. We also picked the best coach.
We begin with the Louisville Cardinals, a team seeking back-to-back Final Fours for the first time since 1983. It remains to be seen whether or not we'll see the U of L team that lost 4 of its last 6 games and finished 7th in the Big East at 10-8, or the one that won 8 straight postseason games en route to a conference tournament title and the Final Four. Louisville lost 2 of its top 3 scorers from that team, but returns preseason Big East Player of the Year Peyton Siva at the point, power forward Shane Bohannon, and center Gorgie Zhang.
If the team look good, I'm gonna look good, of course. One gonna look good. I think you know,
Gorgie looked good. Wayne Blackshear, when he gets back to game shape. Powerful freshman forward Montrezl Harrell. Athletic wing Kevin Ware. And the enigmatic and entertaining Russ Smith.
Now we have much better talent, we have much better experience, so that just makes things better. If we can all stay on the same page for the games and stuff and not get sidetracked, we'll be okay.
And after sitting out last season as a transfer, Luke Hancock was named captain. He's expected to do a little bit of everything for this team.
I don't know if I'm going to get too much higher than the Final Four. Hopefully this year we go a little bit farther. I need about 2 more games. You know, I think just being around this team, I know we're really good. So I don't know if it's going to be one particular moment, but it's going to be fun this year.
2 games in the Yum Center, then a huge non-conference test at the Battle for Atlantis in the Bahamas. Game 1 against Northern Iowa on Thanksgiving. The winner plays Stanford or number 15 Missouri. The final could pit U of L against 17th ranked Memphis or number 8 Duke. Eric, a tough non-conference schedule, not something Rick Pitino shied away from this year.
No, but unlike last year, he thinks this year's team is ready to handle it. I talked to the future Hall of Fame coach about how close he came to retiring, even though now he's signed through 2022, and the career change he almost made. As a coach, how much are you enjoying this? And maybe as opposed to 5-10 years ago, how are things different for you?
I think the last 3 years a switch has come on. And the reason being, Eric, is for the first time in my life, I gave serious consideration to doing something else.
What else could you possibly do at this point? Are you looking at getting into our business? Or?
Yeah, 2 years ago I considered very much commentating. I did some after losing in the first round with CBS as well as ESPN. I spoke with an agent about it, but I'm not ready to stop teaching. And that's why I'm staying with this game.
Could you say who the leading scorer, not that it matters, is going to be on this team this year at this point?
You know, I really couldn't. That's a good question to ask because, you know, I would guess that it would be Luke Hancock or Russ, I was going to say Russ Dickiels, or Russ Smith. I would guess that because Russ, A, takes so many shots. Luke will make most of his free throws. He's an 80% free throw shooter.
What do you think it means to have the 3 big programs as good as they are right now at the same time?
I knew that day was coming. I really did. I just didn't know when Tom Crean would get to the altar because he was decimated with NCAA problems. John went in there. I was positive he had to make. It was going to happen right away with him because of the way he recruits. we were picking up our level of play as well in recruiting. So I knew it was going to happen now that Tom's arrived. And according to all the pro scouts I talked to who watch Kentucky, Indiana, and us, they've really arrived. They've got a team that, because of the way they shoot it and all the players coming back, they have a team that's ready for it.
And the Kentucky coronation is complete. Champions 2012.
We transition to the team coming off its 8th national title, now just 3 behind UCLA for the most all-time, Pat.
Yeah, transition is a great word, too, to describe the 2012 and 13 Kentucky Wildcats. And once again, John Calipari is banking on talent over experience. The new talented crop of freshmen at Kentucky may have the biggest challenge to date in John Calipari's tenure at UK. The Wildcats have just 5 points per game returning from last season's team and have the national title elephant in the room lingering in the midst of every conversation about expectations.
They were a great team, but at the same time we have our own team and we're trying to do things just like they did, but you know, we don't even know how good we are yet.
It all started last season in the middle with reigning National Player of the Year Anthony Davis. Top recruit Nerlens Noel will be given the task of filling that void to an extent. Calipari has hinted he would like to play the 6'11" Noel along with 7-footer Willie Cauley-Stein at the same time.
You start thinking about other matchup problems, like, you know, most schools don't have 3 big men to play at the same time.
Arguably, the main reason UK won the title last season was the emergence of point guard Marcus Teague. Now handling the ball is transfer Ryan Harrow, who left NC State after one less than stellar year and sat out games at Kentucky last season while getting better every day in practice.
I had to play against that every day in practice, and it's a little bit harder in practice too because we don't have any rest.
It's a calendar formula Kentucky fans are now used to, knowing very little about their favorite team in November, but enjoying the maturing process through December, January, and February, because the goal is a #1 ranking in March, not October. Sadly, no more Hoosiers on the UK schedule, but 8th-ranked Duke November 13th at the Georgia Dome. At number 22 Notre Dame November 29th. Number 19 Baylor comes to Rupp Arena 2 days later. The Battle of the Bluegrass, Saturday December 29th at 4 o'clock, and ESPN College Game Day at Rupp Arena February 23rd for Missouri's first SEC visit to Lexington.
Eric, what's John Calipari's record at Kentucky?
102-14.
Oh, by the way, guys, he's still 51-0 at Rupp Arena.
Let's not forget, though, he recently struck out with some of his fellow coaches, though.
Perceived as the biggest cheater by his colleagues, I gave Coach Cal a chance to respond in our one-on-one interview.
Let me give you a chance to defend yourself because I haven't heard you asked about this. CBS Sportsline comes out with a poll. You are voted among the coaches there polled as the biggest cheater. What is your response to that?
From what they told me, you know, but here, I'm probably the most overrated coach. He rolls out balls. He does this. Coaches are the worst. We kill each other. So whack this guy, whack that. Everybody's a bad guy, and they all cheat, and everybody. So now everybody thinks 80% of us cheat. That's 8 out of 10. So you cheat too. You want to say he cheated, you cheat too. We all cheat. Don't care about me. I'm going to be coaching 5 or 6 more years. I'm done. But you had other people there can't coach or don't do things right. That's ridiculous. I'm disappointed in our profession.
You've said several times that you like this year's group. What do you like about them?
People ask me about Nerlens blocking shots like Anthony. I don't believe so, but we'll see. But I do know with Willie Cauley out there with him, now we're longer than we were a year ago.
Is that the plan, to play both of those guys together a fair amount?
Well, some will have to because of numbers, which means, well, then you and he are going to have to play together. I've not done that as a coach before, but if that's my best team, I better learn how to coach with 2 big guys. So we're trying to figure things out. I'm a little anxious about it because I've not done it before, but we'll figure it out.
Okay, time now to break down this year's Battle of the Bluegrass with Rick and Eric. And guys, let's start with U of L. And Rick Pitino suspended Shane Bohannon for the first 2 exhibition games. This is the West Regional MVP from a year ago. How big of a deal is this?
It's a big deal because if you remember a few years ago, Rick Pitino had problems with Derek Character He wants to keep control of the locker room this year. He's going to sit on Shane Behannon.
I think this just speaks to how important a player Shane Behannon is to this team. They don't reach their championship goals without him at 100%, but they have the luxury of having freshman Montrezl Harrell to fill the role while they get this ironed out.
Switching to the other side of the rivalry, I want to know on the Kentucky side, where's the Wildcats offense going to come from this season?
Well, Archie Goodwin, freshman, is a stone-cold scorer. He's the most offensive-minded player on this team. But let me throw out another name, Julius Mays, a senior transfer, averaged 14 a game at Wright State.
Hey, don't worry about it. Do you remember last year? Anthony Davis was the MVP of the Final Four. How many shots did he take? Not many. It's dominance by committee at Kentucky.
No conversation is complete without discussing Indiana. We will break down the top-ranked Hoosiers and sit down one-on-one with Tom Crean when 3 for the Road rolls on.
Comes Riddell Jones, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, Riddell all the way outside to Watford, 3 on the way, oh! And one in! And one in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
It is pandemonium here at Assembly Hall!
Christian Watford with a 3! And the Hoosiers have knocked off the #1 ranked Kentucky Wildcats! Unbelievable!
An unforgettable moment now turns to perhaps an unforgettable season. Indiana tops them all as preseason #1.
The renaissance under Tom Crean, remarkable, considering where the Hoosiers were this time last year.
They were picked second to last in the Big Ten a year ago. Now the deserving preseason #1 and led by the favorite for National Player of the Year.
Next door to the banners that hang in the rafters at Assembly Hall sit the trophies, including those of the last Hoosier to win National Player of the Year, Calbert Chaney. 20 years later, another number 40 is ready to dominate. Zeller may be the one on newsstands everywhere, but Indiana returns 4 other starters. Christian Watford was all Big Ten honorable mention. Victor Oladipo's a high flyer, but also earned conference all-defensive team. Bloomington's own Jordy Hulls made 49% of his threes, good enough for #1 in the country if he had more attempts. Will Sheehy's 15-footer against VCU sent the Hoosiers to its first Sweet 16 in a decade.
We just kind of got a taste for success last year, but you know, we kind of want more this year.
We're still going to play with a chip on our shoulders.
We know we have a target on our back, so it makes us go out there and work that much harder.
The only bad news, a puzzling NCAA suspension of freshman Hunter Perea and Peter Jerkin for 9 games because their AAU coach donated $180 2 decades ago. But the top 10 class nicknamed the Movement will compete for time, and that time is now in Bloomington.
Notable games, either UCLA or Georgetown in Brooklyn, November the 20th. North Carolina in Bloomington, November the 27th. College game day will be at Assembly Hall for Michigan, February the 2nd. And the final 2 games on the Big Ten schedule, doozies. #4 Ohio State and at #5 Michigan. And Tom Crean last season won 27 games, one shy of the number the Hoosiers won in his first 3 years in Bloomington.
Yeah, that's 11 games in the Big Ten. The first 3 years combined, only 8. I sat down with Crean for a one-on-one interview to talk about what's next. What has it been like for you from when you started out with no scholarship players to now where you finally have it where you want it to be?
Well, I think it's the ongoing part of it. I think you've got to keep the sign I have in my office that I've had forever since I saw Bill Parcells say it somewhere, just coach the team. I've had that in my office since Marquette, and I have to look at it a little closer now and again. I usually don't have a problem with that. So this has not been a big change for me.
There's a reason you guys are so highly rated, the reason there's so many expectations. You got a lot of good players, led with Cody Zeller. He's getting a ton of talk before the season for National Player of the Year. Is he that kind of player? And to get that kind of award, what does he have to do?
Well, I think he is. The bottom line is he's so well-versed, he's so well-rounded, he's trying to be complete. I really do compare him to what my brother-in-law Jim Harbaugh had at Stanford with Andrew Luck. And Andrew Luck was hitting on all cylinders. And again, another football reference going back to Florida when Tim Tebow played at Florida. and had all this personality and character and a really good Christian young man. But when you watch this guy on the football field, he was just relentless. Well, those are examples for me with Cody. And so when you have a player that has the chance to be as complete as him, absolutely, all this is real for him, and deservedly so.
In the coaches poll, Indiana 1, Louisville 2, Kentucky 3. What does that mean to you? What is this season going to be?
There's nothing like this area. Right. There's nothing like it. And I'm sure the Duke-Carolina game would rival it, and Michigan State in certain years is going to rival it. But it's hard to imagine anything else in college basketball being close to what this is.
All right, there's no debating the offensive firepower for the Hoosiers. Indiana could fill it up on offense, but defense, that's the question. Ranked 158th in scoring defense last year. What's got to change this season?
A lot of things, starting with ball pressure, but they were 203rd defending the 3 last year. Not very good. With an offense like this, they don't need a lot. But if defense wins championships, they got to start playing some.
Having 5 starters back will help, but will one of these guys from what they're calling the movement, the freshman class, maybe crack that starting 5?
That's right. Yogi Ferrell, freshman point guard, will move into the starting lineup. He gives him a Peyton Siva type guy with the basketball, and he's best friends with Cody Zeller.
What about the Big Ten? Are they the best conference in the country this year?
Absolutely. Nothing to even debate. They've got 3 teams in the top 5, talent galore.
Rick Bozich has never failed to hype the Big Ten, but in this case, he's right. The Big Ten is the best conference.
You agree with him for once.
Just this one time.
All right. So many good players, 3 great coaches. The first WDRB All-Kentuckiana team, voted on by 41 of America's top sports journalists. That's more than the coaches poll, and it's next.
The spin. Oh, what a shot. And yes, prayers are answered on occasion in Manhattan. The Louisville Cardinals are the Big East champions in 2012.
Peyton Siva sparked U of L's run through the Big East tournament and the start of an amazing march for UK, U of L, and IU. Siva, one of many candidates for our first WDRB All-Kentuckiana team.
Yeah, 41 college basketball journalists from all over the country cast ballots in our poll.
The instructions were simple. Pick the 5 best players using only Indiana, Louisville, and Kentucky's current rosters.
We also asked for their best coach, Rick Pitino, John Calipari, Tom Crean, using the criteria they considered most important.
When we tallied the ballots, our rankings agreed with the AP and coaches poll. Indiana 1, Louisville 2, Kentucky 3.
So without further ado, the first member of our WDRB All-Kentuckiana team, IU sophomore Cody Zeller, the only unanimous selection, 41 for 41 on the ballots, the favorite for National Player of the Year. He was 1 vote shy of being a unanimous preseason All-American, meaning someone lives under a rock somewhere. Zeller led IU last season in scoring, rebounding, field goal percentage, and blocks.
The second player on the WDRB All-Kentuckiana team is Louisville point guard Peyton Siva. The preseason Big East Player of the Year was just 1 vote shy of joining Zeller as a unanimous selection. Who didn't vote for this guy? Siva averaged 9 points and 5 assists last year, but in the postseason really turned it up and increased his numbers to 11 and 6, and that included a Big East tournament MVP.
The lone freshman selection, Kentucky's Nerlens Noel. The consensus #1 recruit in the country, known for his shot blocking and 80s kid and play haircut.
The second Hoosier voted All-Kentuckiana, Christian Watford. Indiana's second leading scorer and rebounder behind Cody Zeller, but he's remembered for one particular three-pointer. In the month of March, Watford surged, averaging 18 points per game.
And the final player voted onto the first WDRB All-Kentuckiana team, fan favorite Gorgui Dieng. Senegal's finest averaged 9 points and 9 rebounds. Dieng's 128 blocks also shattered Purvis Ellison's single-season U of L record of 102.
Finally, the best coach in the battle between Rick Pitino, John Calipari, and Tom Crean goes to Rick Pitino fairly comfortably. Pitino getting 25 votes to Calipari's 11 and 4 for Crean. Pitino's resume includes 6 Final Fours and 1 national championship with UK in 1996. He is officially the only coach to take 3 schools to the Final Four. Coach Cal's trips with UMass and Memphis having been vacated by the NCAA. Some very good players were left off this group. Who were the biggest snubs?
Well, UK's Alex Poitras and Archie Goodwin were the next 2 vote getters. I thought either one would have been a better choice than Nerlens Noel.
A lot of people wanted Isaiah Canada, Murray State. We kept the team to Louisville, Kentucky, and Indiana. I'll go with Shane Bohannon. He's a good enough rebounder to get his jersey hung in this building.
All right, it's prediction time. Who's going to make the Final Four? Who's going to win it all, Pat?
I've got 2 of the 3. I have Indiana and Kentucky making the Final Four. I think the Louisville Magic last year just doesn't repeat itself again, and I have the Indiana Hoosiers winning the national championship.
All right, Steve?
I have all 3 making the Final Four. Hopefully the selection committee cooperates and puts them in separate regions, and I agree with Pat. The Hoosiers cut down the nets.
Guys, it's tough getting to the Final Four. It's not easy. Only one of them will make it. That'll be Louisville, and it will be the first national championship for Rick Pitino here at U of L.
I agree with your championship pick, but where's your optimism, man? They're all 3 going to make it. It's going to be the best Final Four we've ever seen.
I'm going to cop out like Steve and Eric and say all 3 will make it as well. I will also go for the Indiana Hoosiers. The Georgia Dome is the site of the Final Four, just 150 days away, if you can believe that. Start counting down. This has been 3 for the road. We'll see you down the road.